Well, Ruben Amorim said quite emphatically and quite clearly that there's a storm coming at Manchester United. The storm's here. The storm is absolutely here. And I live in the UK, so we had Storm Dara just pelting the side of my flat constantly. Couldn't get any sleep. I'm not in a good... I'm wearing grey because I thought that is the best indictment of where we are at right now. It is grey at Manchester United. It's very great. But a lot of... There's been so much discourse, as usual, as you would expect. There's been so much discourse about, is Amorim the right man? Is the system going to work? Are certain players up for it? We're going to delve into all of that based on the last two games that we've had. But before we get into that, please drop a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're enjoying it. We are trying to create... Well, we are creating a non-toxic environment for us football fans to discuss the biggest club in the world. And I want to... Yeah, I don't want to jump on any clickbait headlines or just go in on players for no real reason. I want to give good, reasoned, level-headed assessments on where Manchester United are right now. And it's coming at a time where things are struggling. So drop a like and let's try and, let's actually build a bit of a movement. It's a new era at Manchester United, and I want it to be a new era of football commentary. So drop a like if you're enjoying it, and subscribe if you can, because we're nearly at we've surpassed 2,000 subscribers, which is amazing. But if we can get to 2,500, that's when the next giveaway is coming, which I've already got planned. It's exclusively for YouTube, so you got to be subscribed to be in it. And then at 5k, I've got another one planned. So make sure you get involved where you can. Share this with your friends if you're enjoying it, because I want you all in the comments on this one as we are discussing Ruben Amorim. Like I say, there's been a lot of discourse about how he started so far, but he warned us. I mean, he warned us that there were players that weren't going to be physically or mentally up to the task to adapt so quickly to what he was trying to do. And, one thing you have to give Ruben Amorim a lot of slack with is the time that he's joined us. Not only is it a bit of a circus at the club with what's been going on behind the scenes, but also the fixture schedule for our winter period, isn't conducive to seeing a lot of immediate changes on the football pitch, because he's had to curtail a lot of the work he wants to do on the training pitch for actually being in the spotlight on the pitch itself. They're becoming training sessions, and he's learning as and when he goes along, and that's not going to be good for long-term success or even short-term success with the football club and with the results that we've been getting. But I want to kind of shine a light on a few things from what we've been seeing, because again, we've seen players who are up to it and who aren't, but we had 2 games to do that. One I thought was absolutely winnable, and one I didn't have many expectations for. So we're going to start with that one, which was Arsenal. Arsenal away. We were deploying a clear system from the get-go, 3 at the back. And we obviously had to make some adjustments throughout the game. But frankly, we shut them out for 45 minutes. And that shouldn't be something to really write home about as a Manchester United fan. But you got to remember where Arsenal were, when they were finishing 8th twice and then 5th and then got to where they are now. Like, you have to be able to see certain... This is what all Arsenal fans were saying at the time. You have to start to see what the manager's trying to do and be on board with it or not. I'm on board with what Amorim's trying to do. I'm on board with the 3 at the back, and I understand that the midfielders have certain roles to play and the wing-backs have certain roles to play, and we don't have the profile to fit that, so there's a big teething issue that's going on. But in terms of the Arsenal game, frankly, I expected us to lose that game. I did. Away at Arsenal, I expect us to lose, and they just come off the back of beating West Ham 5-2 or something, so they were free-flowing, and we'd scored some goals, so maybe you could say, both were coming in off some decent patch of form, but Arsenal have a consistent patch of form that's been going on for 2 to 3 years. We had it for 2 to 3 games. 2 games even. Can't even say 3. So, I didn't expect us to get much out of that game. But to shut them out the way we did, and for players like Terrell Malacia to come in at left wing back and shut Saka up for 45 minutes and before getting subbed off, presumably for fitness reasons. Lenny Yoro coming on for about 20-25 minutes and having a good game. One-on-ones in particular, he was very good. And that was good. And there's a positive and a negative to what I'm going to say now, in that we were undone by set pieces against Arsenal. So a lot of... I did it as well, just because a bit of copium, but a lot of people jumped on the fact, of old quotes of Arsene Wenger, for example, saying, how bad Stoke are and that's not real football, and Arsenal basically doing the same thing. Well, let's be honest, right? They beat us. Whichever way you look at it, they won the game. The record books will never say that they won by scoring 2 corners. The record books will say that they beat us 2-0. And they will also say that we haven't been able to beat them in a very long time since they've had Arteta and we've been in this transitional period. So where would I rather be? I'd rather be winning the game. Forget how you win it. If we won that game, we would be exactly the same. We would be talking about how we're amazing at this and you suck at this. And why are you going to go at us because we're better better than you at something that you wish you were better than us at? Like, I don't understand where Man United fans actually genuinely could come off and say, oh, who cares? Like, we'll write the one off. Arsenal just beat us at set pieces. Like, we gave them 14 corners and they were dangerous for most of them. And we conceded 2 really poor goals. And that theme continued against Nottingham Forest. So, I want to be clear. It was a game against superior opposition in circumstances that were a bit tougher, like 2 suspensions, which, doesn't make things easier. But then we didn't come off too badly, did we? Like, we weren't great going forward, but the game itself was a bit of a damp squib of, open play performances from either team. So it was just one of those games, and we lost 2-0 fair and square. Arsenal deserved to win that because, they hedged their bets and they won. And that is how football works. But the Nottingham Forest game, by contrast, was a massive disappointment. I can't look at that Nottingham Forest game and help but be really annoyed at the way that went. Because you look at our winter schedule, where we've got Liverpool in the new year, we've got Newcastle at home, we've got City away, we've got a European game, we've got FA Cup again against Arsenal, EFL Cup against Tottenham away in the quarterfinals. This was one of the easier games. We've got Wolves away, which I don't know what will happen against them because they're a bit of a weird one as well. But that was a game. Yeah, I know Nottingham Forest are doing well, but they weren't doing well coming into the game, and we should have beaten them. Like, I think we still had like 70% possession. We had 15 to 16 shots on goal, more on target than what they had. So we played better. And we had possession and a clear style of play. Like, those 2 things will never be lost on me. I'm glad that we're doing that. And the bumps meant that we might not get results, but we're seeing performances. However, that's not what I think we saw for the last half an hour of that game. We started really poorly. And that makes me think, what I just said about the Arsenal thing, by the way, maybe Arsenal aren't just great at taking corners. Obviously, they are. They're the best in the league. But maybe we're just bad at them. Maybe that's an Achilles heel for us to have to work on because that's poor. That we've conceded from a corner within 90 seconds of the game. And then from the restart, from some really annoying play from Bruno, it had to be said. I know he made up for it from the goal, but why are you doing reverse passes in your own third? I don't understand it. And, we had our system and, we did well to get into the game and all this sort of stuff, but we were chasing the game for 40 minutes. And I heard Gary Neville say this and Tim Howard say it actually, which I thought was a really good bit of analysis where, I thought this at the time. I thought there was enough time to keep the majority of the players that were there. Like, Lisandro Martinez had a bad game and Yoro wasn't playing great and De Ligt wasn't playing particularly well. But that's the back 3 that we want. You play them through a game like that, don't you? Like, you don't chop and change constantly. Maybe with like 15 minutes to go you do, but with half an hour, 40 minutes, I thought he jumped the gun a bit, Amorim, but he's in one of those situations where, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because if he sticks with that same team and we get the same result, people say, why didn't you change? So I'm empathetic towards him, and this is nothing against him, by the way. I just felt that there were enough players on that pitch to win that game. And, Ugarte coming off, I definitely think was a fitness issue. Not an issue, but to keep him fit for the rest of the winter games, which is totally fair. But the balance in the midfield was gone. And he took Bruno off, which I thought was quite ballsy. But again, the balance was gone. So I did think there was enough time in that game to turn things around. I still think that, having watched it all and having digested all of the information that we have. But at the end of the day, we were poor, and it was a kamikaze Erik ten Hag type game, wasn't it, really? And that goes to show that there are players at the club who don't deserve to be there. I think we all know that. But the enormous discourse around Manchester United after the fact is just getting really tiresome now. Like, well, it's tiresome to begin with, but why is anyone going in on Amorim too hard for any of this stuff? Like, he's not being given the set of tools to be successful so far at all. He's also not been given the circumstances to even make good with what he's got, realistically, has he? So we need to ease up on him, for sure. I think anyone coming at him and saying that he is this, he's that, he's not good enough, 3-4-3 doesn't work, you're not ready for a rebuild. Like, I know the philosophy he wants, and he's been successful with it in the past, enormously successful against European opposition, not just domestically. I want to see that at Manchester United, and he will be given the tools in order to do that. So I just think we need to relax on Amorim. I think we need to relax on the way things are going at the football club, and just let it take its course, because there's nothing we can do about it. We can get angry about it and we can get upset about it, of course. And I'm upset after watching that game, I am. But it doesn't make sense to then go in on every single minutiae of detail when we don't know the full story. So I look at the Nottingham Forest game and I just see a manager who is working with what he has and trying to figure out what works desperately in a time where he would rather be doing that on the training pitch, but because of the fixture congestion, he's having to do that on the actual pitch, and we're all going to have to see that. So massive bumps to come from Amorim. I said it was going to happen even after the dopamine of getting the 4-0 win against Everton and beating, you're winning in Europe and stuff. So I said it then. And it's happened now, and nothing's changed. It is just a case of riding the storm, like he said, and getting an element of calm about it. Because if anyone can do it, I mean, he made a really good point, Amorim, in the multiple interviews he's had to do since the game, and I feel for him after that. But he had to deal with a lot more at Sporting. And granted, the amount of eyeballs and the scrutiny on Sporting wasn't anywhere near what it's like at Manchester United. But he had to deal with a lot of cultural issues, of players not playing for the club, the badge or his philosophies. And look where they are now, or look where they were when he was there. They're struggling even without him. So it's clear that the manager's got some real talent. So I'm not worried about where we're going, but I think in this next winter period, my parting piece for this video, strap in, because I don't think you're ready for what's about to happen. We could have some really good results and some really poor ones, but where we are right now, 13th in the league, we're going to cement us, in my opinion, I think we could cement ourselves in mid-table, and we could be out of the 2 cups in December. It's going to be really ugly if all that happens. If what I just said happens, which is not out of the realms of possibility whatsoever, then we are in some serious trouble for the season. And you can always talk about, has it come down to, not making the decision to get Amorim sooner and, resting on our laurels with Ten Hag, whatever it is. This is the situation that we're in. It's a bad one, and we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But ultimately, do I trust the manager? Yes. Do I think that he's a good appointment? Absolutely, I do. Am I willing to give him time to bear fruit from the changes that he will inevitably have to make? Absolutely. Because I much rather trust a manager who's coming in with new philosophies and real intent to change Manchester United with the backroom staff, however it settles, to give him the opportunity to do that, than with these players, some of these players who have proven that they're not up to that challenge and they probably shouldn't be here anymore. So that's where we are. I mean, I don't want to say drop a like after all of that, but, drop a like. I mean, it helps the channel more than you know, but my ultimate thing is there's no need to get too bogged down with everything. It's not a positive time right now at Man United whatsoever, but to go over the handle and say this person should leave, that person should be sacked, this isn't working, enough of all that. Like, it was a bad result, really bad result, and a bad time at the minute, but the storm is here. We're in it now. And you know what? I'm just the kind of guy where I'd rather live in something than in anticipation of something. It's the fear that kills you. And I'm just looking at where we are now. We're in the storm now. Cool. Let it all fall to pieces. Rebuild properly. Because people will always talk about this and say, well, you've been in a rebuild for so many years. No, we haven't. We've said we wanted a rebuild for ages. We haven't had the right builders in place. So the house has been falling down. The mansion has been falling apart. And we've had these random contractors come in to try and fix it. But in actuality, now we are in a rebuild. And that doesn't negate what's been happening so far, because the knock-on effects from all of that is what we're seeing now with the poor recruitment in many key areas and the poor investment in the infrastructure and the rest of the football club. But we are now in a position to break down from the beginning and move forward. Moving forward might be at a snail's pace compared to what we want, because we've had to wait for so long. But that is what we actually wanted, isn't it? Really. We all said, theoretically, we would want to tear down everything, rebuild, and move forward. That's what we're doing. Hurts, doesn't it? But it's exactly what we need. And that is me done. So thank you so much for watching the video. Subscribe if you're new. I hope you've enjoyed. Get in the comments and let me know what you think about what I've said, what I haven't said. And next game, who is it? Victoria Pilsen and Manchester City. Yeah.